I guess, at least for today, all roads lead to Kinderhook. I used to watch a wonderful show on Saturday night on CBS, Jackie Gleason, and he'd always say, "And away we go." How sweet it is. I think the last time we had a gathering, we were breaking ground back here, and a year later, we're here, or we are where our back lawn used to be. So we had to swap out a lawn for a beautiful new building. And it is just thrilling for me to be here today and to welcome you all to our library, which is 85 years old. This building is 85 years old. And I remember looking through the remarks that were made by the benefactor, Carolyn Davie Lloyd, who put up this building in the height of the Depression, in FDR's first year as president. Very tough economic climate. And she went out and endowed this beautiful building and even paid the librarian a salary out of her own pocket. And I think Jim Tuttle mentioned one time she used to come to board meetings with a driver that she'd come over from Lee, Massachusetts. So there's been a zeal for a wonderful library going back to the 1930s. And I've been fortunate enough to be president for 10 years. Not quite as long as a couple of other presidents. One was named Berkmeyer. And of course, we had Ken Fleischer, who served as president, I believe, for 13 years, and I think Ken's daughter is here today. There she is, Marcia Anderson. We're welcoming. So there's great threads of continuity going through this place. So I want to welcome you to our dedication ceremony. It is long overdue, and we invite you all to use it early and often. It's spent 10 years in the making, and it will be a game changer in terms of how we provide services to our two towns and to our neighbors in the village of Kinderhook. It represents hope and progress. It is a visible symbol of confidence in our communities, in their future. As I told my wife, even a community settled in the 17th century needs a 21st century library. Since 1933, this library has occupied one building, the Davie building. Starting today, we will officially occupy another structure to be called the Tuttle building. One library, two buildings. It is such a pleasure to see the Tuttle grandchildren who are here with their grandma and their grandpa and their uncles, and it's just a wonderful thing. And I'm so pleased that Missy Davie Saxinger is home. She was our librarian in 1983, and she was taken by cancer very quickly, and she hasn't been in this library for a few years, and we decided to bring her home. So, it's so gratifying to see friends and neighbors come together to invest in a library. A library is a very democratic institution, open and available to everyone. Besides being a source of information and knowledge and entertainment, it is a welcoming place where human connection and relationships are fostered and privacy is respected. Like all libraries, ours is a supportive place that reduces social isolation and encourages users to connect and explore. This new library makes this possible with programs, performances, and technologies, both advanced and very basic. But a library, and our library in particular, is so much more than just a new building. It is our outstanding director. from the Albany area that I didn't know were here. I hadn't been here before. But anyway, so we have this wonderful and outstanding director who is now in her 7th year as our library director. And I remember a conversation with Jim Tuttle and Mike Wheeler, who was here earlier, who was on our board for many years. And we had gone to Albany and offered Anna Lee the job, and she accepted pretty quickly. So we're driving home on I-90 out in East Greenbush, and we turned to each other and we said, we'll be lucky to hold her for 5 years. She's got greatness written all over her. And so, to finish up, our library, our director, the staff that she's hired, and the volunteers, they set us apart, not a new building. They are talented, they are customer focused, and knowledgeable on a broad range of subjects, including the digital devices and the internet. Thanks to the generosity of 388 donors, our $2.3 million goal was reached on time and without loans or debt. I'm so proud to say that no local tax dollars were spent to construct or outfit this beautiful new building and to renovate this historic building, which is, as I said, is 85 years young. We invite you to come back often and explore all that our new space has to offer. I also want to take the opportunity to publicly thank our local voters in both towns who have supported our library, and given us a sustainable revenue base so that we can make long-range plans and stick to them, and make big goals and achieve them. That confidence in us is something that we value very highly. And as I always say, we're doing great things, but then our people's expectations of us is pretty great. So we've got to meet the needs and the hopes of the people we're here to serve. So I want to thank the voters who have turned out 7 times in both towns, and every time they have said, here's a little extra, go do great things. And we hope we're on our way. I now want to introduce our outstanding director, who has given so much of her time and talent to make this day possible. Anna Lee.
Hi, everybody. So I did something really uncharacteristic that I wrote my comments down. I am usually much more of an off-the-cuff speaker, but I'm a little emotional, and this is much too big a deal for ad-libbing. So even though many of you know that I am prone to hyperbole, I still think this is the best day ever. And if you need a favor from me, today is probably the day to ask. I'm likely to say yes to just about anything because I'm just a big ball of joy today. And I'm so happy that we've somehow made all of this happen and we're here. The whole project was a lot to take on, but luckily, what I lack in know-how, I make up for in over-enthusiasm and stubborn persistence. I want to say a quick word about the changes to the building and what it means for our services, but I can't do that without thanking some important people who made it possible for us. First, our longest relationship, our architects, Paul Mays and Megan Brennan of Butler Allen Mays. The library began working with them in 2009, which was 3 years before I even started here. So they have stuck through this long process with us and been nothing but supportive, encouraging, and consummate professionals. They've designed a building that would make the Davie family proud, and we can't thank them enough. And I know that Megan has managed to talk me off a ledge several times in the last 3 months. For that, I am grateful, and we would have been lost without them. Then there's the stalwart support we've received from the fabulous Mid-Hudson Library System, particularly their amazing director, Rebecca Smith-Aldrich, who is here today. Without her guidance on construction grants, long-range planning, 414 votes, we wouldn't be where we are today. She's not only a mentor of mine, but she's a friend and an inspiration. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank Jim Romanchuk and Sons. They're our general contractors, and they have built an exquisite building with such attention to detail, and they brought Paul and Megan's plans to life. Together, this team has opened up a whole new world of possibilities for our programming and services. I feel like our library has been a walking, talking, long-range plan for many years now, always focused on the future and what could be, and it's finally a present-day reality, and I'm so thankful for that. We look forward to new social services offerings, which are close to my heart, having started out at Albany Public and some other really urban libraries where we did a lot of that. We haven't had the ability here, and I'm really excited. So things like health fairs and tax assistance and outreach service. We've also been able to drastically upgrade our internet connectivity with lightning fast fiber connection and our technology with new equipment in every area of the building, which is really important in Columbia County, which has the dubious distinction of having the worst internet coverage in the entire state. But not here, we're like an oasis in the desert. Our meeting space in the new meeting room makes rooms for programs, allows us to host not-for-profit groups and individuals for meetings, activities, and even more programs. Our building is now fully accessible to everyone, which is the most important thing because libraries are for everyone. Our community is the heart of our library, and we're just so excited to be done planning and to start doing. Thank you to our wonderful group of experts. Teamwork makes the dream work, and you've all made my dreams come true. Thank you.
I now want to introduce Marion Soul, who was co-chair along with Jim Tuttle of our fundraising committee and did a marvelous job pulling all that together. It was a steep, I would just remind you, we did a feasibility study 5 years ago, and only 1 in 5 they love the library. The message we got was, they love your library, but only 1 in 5 think you're going to be able to raise 1.5 million. But we went to 2.3 million. So that shows you hidden reservoir. Marion and Jim have done a wonderful job pulling this together, and I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about how we got to put this together financially.
As always, Gary takes some of my remarks and does it himself. So, as he says, after extensive canvassing of the whole community, those of us on the board and the friends really weren't sure that we could make this goal of 2.3. I know I woke up a number of nights in a cold sweat at the prospect. Luckily, we had the encouragement and direction of Matt Blumenfeld of Financial Development Agencies. Without Matt, this would not happen. Under his guidance, we identified those of you in the community who we thought shared our strong belief in a new library that would actually meet the 21st century. We found you through networks of your friends who ratted you out. As Gary says, we found 388 of you. Rich Crane of Crane Design, he and Chatham Press, he created the brochure to help us tell the story, and he designed the invitation that lured so many of you to small parties to have to listen to our story. And then many of you we even persuaded to hold parties so we could even reach more of your friends to tell that story again and again and again. And I'm sure you got tired of hearing it. But you gave generously. And we could not be more grateful for every contribution of absolutely any size and every size that we got. Some of you bought bricks for the patio to honor your family members, to honor your book club, to honor reading itself. Several of you sponsored particular parts of the library. But I'd like to give a special thanks to just a few people without whom the construction could not have gone ahead. Senator Kathy Marchione for her major construction grant, as well as the State Library construction funding, which awarded us 3 separate awards. Many thanks go to Anna Lee and to Megan Brennan, who spent hours, days, weeks, months writing those grant applications. And we really do appreciate that. We'd like to thank Barry Herbold for the gift of the children's room in honor of his late wife, Jackie Carter. And you'll see when you get the chance to go through just how beautiful that is. We want to thank Phil and Bagita Sherman for their generous underwriting of our technology infrastructure. We will be a 21st century library. Thanks go to the Hudson River Bank and Trust for sponsoring the lobby in the new building. Which brings me to the Tuttle family. We remember with fondness Fatty Tuttle, who was our honorary chair, and who sadly died before the library could be completed, although she was, 105 at the time? 104. I'm sure Fatty and Ben would be extremely proud of everything that we've accomplished here. Their son Jim and his wife Nora, their grandson Tom and his wife Mila had our back. They supported us so generously that, as Gary already told you, the board voted unanimously to name the new building the Tuttle Building. They will be long remembered for their gifts to this community. So please join me in giving a special thank you and warm welcome to our chief benefactors, Jim, Nora, Tom Tuttle.
Very few words. My father's vision. He did years and years of talking about it, of asking me questions, of trying to figure out how best to raise the money and bring this to the community. I supported him from the beginning, and I'm so happy that he was able to work with you all to make this happen. It's exciting for us. Mila unfortunately couldn't be here. It's exam week for the kids, but both of us are so thrilled that the project is completed. And thank you all for your help.
Thank you, Gary. I would like to just put a little different slant on this. This library was built by women, not by guys. In the 1920s, some women got together and said, gee, we ought to have a library in the village of Kinderhook. And they pooled their resources and their books, and it moved around for a while. And finally, Carolyn Davies Lloyd said, you got something going here. I'll build you a building, which she did. And she endowed the building as well to support a librarian for a significant period of time. Remember, this library ran on contributions up until what, 10 years ago? Yeah, it was all contributions to pay staff and so forth. The library has, I believe, exclusively had female librarians. The only person trying to break the mold is Matt. He's a librarian. He is a librarian. And he's doing some fascinating things with I don't know what you call them, preteens, teens, trying to get them started in making building robots, computer programming, as well as just giving them, and this is a whole new thing for this library. It's never had. When you go through that door, the first room on your right is the quote, teen room, which I think starts about 10, so it's it's the only place in Kinderhook where teens can safely hang out and do whatever they want to do under the slightly watchful eye of the librarians, who are only a window away, as you see when you go into that room. So that's a whole new thing that Matt really was working on for years and has brought into fruition. So I thank the women. The two probably most energetic women here were Mimi and now Dot. And they're both from Stuyvesant. I don't know what's in the water in Stuyvesant, but you crank out some really high energy women over there. I'm surprised Annalita. She's an import. So I really congratulate the women who have supported the creation and the building and the staffing of this library over the last, in a way, probably 90 years, truthfully, not just the library building, but the concept of the library. Thank you all for letting us.
I want to now acknowledge some of the trustees. We have 15 trustees. We used to have, I think, 12, and I got into this project to do the building talked to Jenny Berkmeyer, and we said, you know what? We're gonna need more horses in the corral. So we went out and recruited, when we changed our charter, I guess, to do it, we added 3 trustees to our roster, and we have 15 trustees. And they all do a wonderful job. I think Paul Mays was quoted on one of the video clips of a groundbreaking, and he said, those trustees all pull together. They're rowing the boat in the same direction. That doesn't always happen in groups, as you know. We've been very fortunate to attract and maintain great citizens willing to take long hours, devote a lot of time to gathering signatures and doing everything a good trustee should do, and advocate for the library. So I'm blessed as their president for 10 years to have that kind of strength. I want to thank 5 in particular who've been so invaluable through this whole growth process. I want to thank Dot Balco, who's been mentioned, a retired librarian from New Jersey. She and her husband Ed have been stalwarts from the beginning. I call it librarian craft. She knows how to be a great librarian, and I think she's mentored Anna Lee a lot and brought her into the real world here. So I want to thank Dot Balco. And I want to thank Karen Vasilio, who's our vice president, and I think for 10 years too, isn't right? Karen and I have sort of paired on this thing, 10 years. It's, I guess, we're getting into double digits. So Karen has been our chair of our operations committee, which is a very important committee overseeing policy and the operations and how we do our work day to day, but also a keeper of the important do's and don'ts, the guardrails, so to speak, of running a public library. And I want to thank Karen for your great effort. I want to thank Mike Leonard, who has been a finance chair the last few years, a treasurer. I had to dragoon him into doing it, but he's done a wonderful job. At the board meetings, everybody says, we understand now. It's a little complicated when you're doing capital on top of operations, but he does such a great job sorting that out. Mike Leonard has been wonderful. Mike, I don't know where you are. Another trustee who's been extremely helpful is Mark Wilson, who is our longest serving trustee. He had been on for many years, got off, and he came back a few years ago. Besides being a trustee, he's also president of the Mid-Hudson Library System. So he's we've got a lot of accomplished people working together here in our little village. And then the last person I want to acknowledge is probably spent most of the last year here, and that's Bruce Charbonneau, who he's the past president, and he's also been chair of the Building and Construction Committee for the whole duration, going back way before we put the reading porch on behind me. And Bruce has been here, and he's worked with all the contractors, particularly with Jim, but also the subs. And I'm going to be posting something after we're done here showing all of the local contractors who made this a community effort. And it's great that we can buy local and get quality. And for that, I thank all of those craftsmen and workers and everybody who came together under Jim Romanchuk's great leadership, working with Bruce and the construction committee. So I want to thank Bruce publicly. One of the blessings of being a board president is getting to work with folks in the community who don't want to necessarily be a trustee, but they want to be there to do the real day-to-day work. And that is our Friends of the Library. We are blessed to have a Friends of the Library chapter of over 220 members, which for a library our size is almost unheard of. And I'm also counting the people who bake the goods when we have a reception or go out and buy the goodies. I mean, they do an enormous job. They help us gather signatures. We'd be lost without them. And so many libraries don't have them. I mean, we don't take them for granted at all. We know how scarce, how precious this is. So the Friends of the Library have had wonderful leadership. One of the past President Bonnie Shannon was given statewide recognition for her work on behalf of the Friends of the Libraries across the state. She got a major award, and we're so proud of Bonnie and all she's done. So Bonnie, I'm not sure where you are, but I want to put your hand up so we can recognize you. Well, as I said, we have a great organization that supports us day after day, and their president is Marie Orlando, who's done a wonderful job, and who's also a retired librarian. And Marie, please come up and say a few words.
I know that many of you have heard me say this before. The establishment of the Friends really came with the motivation of the expansion of this building. That was in 2005. You can imagine how thrilled we are today. We've been able to advocate and support the library over these last 13 years, I guess it is now, because of our members. People who have joined the Friends and renewed their memberships have been loyal, and we've just so much appreciate what you've all done to be members of our organization. And I just want to simply acknowledge 3 people who have really, really worked very hard and have presented creative ideas which have made it possible for us to do the work that we do. And those 3 are, of course, Bonnie Shannon, who you've already heard from and heard of, and Mary Margaret Cronin, who's I think here as well. And Warren Applegate, who's kind of
Many of my bosses, both past and present, are in the room today, including my very first bosses, my parents. And I need to thank them and my boyfriend Matthew, who have all listened to me talk about nothing but this project for roughly 6 years now. I also really want to thank my father, Don Dragon, who donated his labor to tile the beautiful bathrooms in our new building, which you no longer need to walk through my office to get to. Thanks, Dad. I really appreciate a contractor that I can pay in donuts. Wonderful. We should have more of those. I also need to thank the village that helped raise this library. First and foremost, my board, who has taken on so much and worked so hard to make this project happen, while listening to my bold ideas and supporting me at every turn. They all have the patience of saints and have believed in me and embraced my visions from the very first. My work here has truly been more than I could have ever hoped for, and it's all thanks to them. The same goes for the best library staff ever. I don't know if you all know, but I was the only full-time librarian working here when I started 6.5 years ago, and I now have 3 full-time certified librarians working in this building. And then I have several library support assistants that are just like the best people in the planet. They know the village, they love the library, they do it out of the goodness of their heart. The people who work at this library have dealt with a lot over the last few years, and they are still speaking to me somehow, so I'm going to try and keep that going. I'm so proud to work with each and every one of them. They make the library what it is, and what it is fabulous. I want to thank all of the people who volunteer their considerable time and talent in various capacities throughout the year. Sangelo Presto, the Candlelight Night Crafters, Karen Hummel and Judy Warren and their artists, Jean Leonard and all of the wonderful bakers, and obviously all of the friends of the library, including Marie. We have such a great community of supportive local businesses, including the Flummery, Dyad, and Broad Street Bagel Company, who keep us well fed and help us with our programming, and we're really appreciative of that. I also want to thank the patrons and the voters for their patience and their support. We've had days closed, a constantly changing setup, construction noise, and yet the most common reaction was just sheer excitement for what we were doing. It's like an embarrassment of riches. The residents of Kinderhook and Stuyvesant are kind and enthusiastic people, and they were cheering us on the entire way. Last but certainly not least, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Julie Johnson Fells, my predecessor and our former director extraordinaire. She's not here, she had to leave, but I made her read this before she left. Isaac Newton famously said, "If I have seen a little further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." For me, it was Julie who helped me see further. Without everything she did to automate this library and create sustainable funding, I would never have been able to move us to the next phase of our organizational growth. I'm thankful for her help, her friendship, and her genuine support and enthusiasm of everything we've done since her tenure. Thank you, Julie, and I hope we have made you proud. All of that said, the most important thing I've learned in my almost 7 years here is that no one accomplishes anything alone. I can safely say that every single person in this room has had a hand in making this dream a reality. Whether it was supporting me personally or professionally or using our library or volunteering to help in any number of ways, you've all participated in this success story, and I couldn't be happier to share the result and the celebration with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, next I want to recognize some government officials who are here today, and they have, I believe, some gifts for us from their respective jurisdictions. So let's start with the mayor of the village, Jim Dunham.
Thank you, Gary. I just want to present you with a citation the village proclaiming today, Kinderhook Library Day. I, James Dunham, Mayor of the Village of Kinderhook, with the Village Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim December 14, 2018 as Kinderhook Memorial Library Day. The day celebrates the major expansion of the library building designed in harmony with the historic character of that neighborhood. The library has provided services to the village for 90 years. This improvement, constructed without local tax dollars, will further enhance the many benefits the library provides to the community. Thank you. Everyone for, the board, the friends of the library, the Tuttle family, all those have contributed. It's a wonderful addition to the village, and the library has been a benefit since I was a little kid. I often appreciated the library, but it's just gone to a new level with this expansion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Recognizing what has been done here and the tremendous accomplishment, we passed our own proclamation following the Village of Kinderhook and declared December 14, 2018 to be Kinderhook Memorial Library Day in the town of Kinderhook. So throughout Kinderhook, bells will ring and we'll celebrate the accomplishment. Personally, I grew up in five seconds walk from here in the late 60s and early 70s, and was fortunate enough during those years to work in the drugstore, and people came to the drugstore who remembered Carol and Davie Lloyd, who founded the library. Also, Mr. James Wilkins, who had a building business here, who did significant amount of renovation here, I believe in the late 60s, early 70s. And once again, people who are generous and involved in caring and recognize the need for a library in the community have come together. And I think it's what makes this nation great. Another foreigner like myself who came to the United States, Alexis de Tocqueville, said he believed that's what would always make America great, was the spirit of volunteerism, getting together, whether it was for a library or a church or a firehouse community, and would always make us strong and always made us uniquely American, is that people in an entire community would bond together and do something like's been done this year. So I thank you all for your efforts and wish everyone the best going forward.
Now I'd like to hear from Ron Knott, the supervisor of the town of Stuyvesant.
Thank you, Gary, Annalee. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with all of you today to witness this. It's been quite an exciting project. Our town board did a resolution too that I'll present to you, but I just wanted to share a personal thought. On the way over this morning, I thought about this being candlelight night in the village here in Kinderhook, and what an opportune time that is, you know. And to go back in time, 25 years ago, candlelight night in the village kind of surrounded the phone company. And I see Brian hiding in the corner back there. It was a more vibrant, locally owned business than it is today. And I can certainly see the news library being the hub now of candlelight night in the village in the future. So that's a great thing. And one more comment I'd like to have on behalf of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors. Annalee spoke about the fact that Columbia County had earned a designation of having some of the worst internet in the world, or the state. You know, and I do want to add to that, though, that through a lot of hard work, some of our state legislatures are here today. Mike Tucker from CEDC, the Board of Supervisors, has worked hard on this. Because of that designation, the county has received an awful lot of funding. There's been an awful lot of improvements, and I really don't think that's the case anymore. So at our board meeting last week, our town board did proclamate that whereas the Kinderhook Memorial Library has been designated the provider of library services to the town of Stuyvesant for nearly 2 decades, and whereas the town of Stuyvesant board and the library have worked together in providing many programs that benefit the community, whereas voters in the town of Stuyvesant have consistently supported funding for library services here at the Kinderhook Library. The library has recently concluded a major capital expansion and renovation project, which mostly funded with private donations to provide improved access and programming while respecting the historic setting of the village. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Stuyvesant Town Board hereby declares December 14th as Kinderhook Memorial Library Day and congratulates them on their newly constructed community center.
We also are fortunate to have, we've had wonderful support, I think Annalee mentioned, through our state senate, State Senator Kathy Marshall for several years. And she was instrumental in getting us a major grant, which really kind of put us over the top. And Kathy, as you know, is stepping down as senator. We're going to miss her terribly because she's been a presence here. We always loved visiting her on Albany Lobby Day to get a chance to talk one-on-one with her. And she has a representative named Bob Laporta. You want to come up, Bob, and present me with what he has?
Good morning. I'm a legislative aide for the senator, and she regrets that she couldn't be here today. But she's asked that I come and express her pleased. She's very pleased and very happy that this project has come to completion and the expansion that this will provide for the community. So she's asked me to present the certificate of recognition to the Kinderhook Memorial Library dedication on behalf of their expansion. This is from her and from the New York Senate. So congratulations.
We're going to need another display case. You can see that. Make sure we get on there.
Thank you for having me here this morning and to be a part of this wonderful celebration here today in Kinderhook. And you know, it's undeniable today that we live in a culture where learning in isolation is not only convenient, but it's a trend. You know, it's a trend that I see as an instructor at a local college. And I think, you know, thinking back to when I was in high school, when Mr. Applegate was my high school English teacher, he probably wished that I was learning more in isolation and putting forth more of an effort. But, you know, the vigilance that is present here and the sense of community that's here and really going against the grain and bringing learning together as a community, it's palpable here. And it's truly wonderful. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. And you know, I want to thank you all for letting me be a part of it. And on behalf of the New York State Assembly, I'd like to present you with this citation. Thank you very much.
I also happen to know that about a month ago, this same gentleman came and read to the children in a story hour, which is really special for those little ones. And thank you, Jake, for all you advocate for us and provide. We really appreciate it. I just wanted to say too on the village, you know, we went through the permitting process, historic preservation. We couldn't have gotten better. I mean, I think the product that came out of that review process by local government actually helped the design. I mean, we hear so much about overregulation and what have you. We went through the process and I said thank yous to everyone because they appreciated the information we gave them. And it was easy to get their consent to move forward. So we don't always hear stories about government that are, you know, great and laudatory. But this is one that is great and laudatory. And I want to thank the Village Planning Board, the ZBA, and the Historic Preservation Commission for giving us a really, not only a fair shake, I think they really enjoyed the process as much as we did and making our product even better. Okay, I now want to have someone special to us, to Annalee and me, who has just become the executive director of the Mid-Hudson Library System. So I want you to welcome Rebecca Smith-Aldridge and have her say a few words.
I am definitely an interloper. I am not from your community, but I'm a great admirer of your community. I've had the pleasure for the past 20 years of working for the Mid-Hudson Library System, and Mr. Tuttle was on our board many years ago, probably close to 15 years ago, and after a board meeting said to me, would you mind coming to talk to our board about our building? We think we might need to expand. So I think I predate Paul Mays and helping out with this effort. But you know, the best part of my job are days like this when I get to witness what communities can do when they pull together. And Gary mentioned President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in his opening remarks. And that president has one of my favorite quotes about libraries, which is that the dedication of a library is an act of faith. And I think that's what you have demonstrated here in this community, what your vision for the future can be when you work together. And that is exactly what our world needs right now. So I will keep it short and just say congratulations and thank you for being a model for many communities throughout the state and the country, and doing what we really all should be doing, which is to pull together, to help all be heard and to give people a place to be a part of something larger than themselves. And I hope you look around this room at your neighbors today and the library professionals who are here to support you as well, and thank the person next to you because they have the same vision you do to make the world a better place using the platform of your local public library. So I just want to say congratulations. This is an awesome day and I appreciate being a part of it. It's been an awesome thing to see happen.
Thank you.
The culmination of so many years of hard work by so many. There are so many people who have given their time, their energy, their talent, their knowledge, and their money to make our new library a reality. And I know they've all been recognized here this morning, but I'd like to add my own gratitude and thanks to all of them. But I have the distinct honor here this morning of recognizing the president of our Board of Trustees. Gary Spielman has led this effort from day one. The continuity and the strength of his leadership throughout this process has brought us to where we are today. He has built a strong team, expanded our Board of Trustees, listened when people raised concerns, changed course when necessary, stayed the course for the long run, and has been deeply involved in every facet of this project. I have greatly admired the passion with which Gary has spoken and acted on behalf of our library, and his ability to bring the library into every conversation he has had. Very true. I have witnessed that. Into every conversation he has had with potential supporters, and many of whom signed on to support the project because of that passion. On behalf of the board, the staff, the friends of the library, and our entire library community, it is my pleasure and my honor to thank Gary for his leadership with this plaque, and I would like to read it to you. The Kinderhook Memorial Library Board of Trustees moves that every December 14th be designated Gary Spielman Day. recognize Mr. Gary Spielman and his untiring efforts to enhance library services for the communities it serves by his directing the capital campaign to expand the building and by raising the profile of the Kinderhook Memorial Library to its patrons and stakeholders. From the Kinderhook Library Board of Trustees, December 14th, 2018. Please join me in honoring and celebrating our very first annual Gary Spielman Day.
Wasn't there a line in the movie once that said, "We're gonna need a bigger boat"? I think we're gonna need a bigger wall, but thank you. Thank you so much. As I said, this is just a special occasion, and Annalee and I were talking yesterday, and what are we gonna do next week?
Hang up plaques, apparently.
Yes, but anyway, so we're about to conclude, but I want to ask the Tuttle family to go to that.
Yep,
Go on.
entrance.
And we're going to have the Tuttle family cut the ribbon.
There.